About the AFC South. So I think.
There's a history in this league.
Brought him up.
That's an example.
So
finish
this.
For
those who believe, for those who are ready.
You have no idea what song
I
it is.
have no idea what song it is.
It's a hot song right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Doug Saravo Show, which is brought to you by our good friends at Unsolicited Role Models, the role models you may not want, but you may just need. All right, so we got a special episode for you tonight. We are going to go week by week and dictate the NFL schedule and give our predictions for every week. Let's get into it. Week 1 is going to be underway September 4th. So we're going to start with the NFC side. We're going to start for the NFC side, and then we'll work our way to the left. So they're at home defending their title. I like the Eagles to defeat the Dallas Cowboys in that one. Cardinals versus the Saints. The Saints have been inconsistent. Arizona has been consistent throughout the year last year. And I think Arizona takes this one. We're not giving out scorers. We're not giving out, MVPs of the game, key players. That will be with Dougie, Jonathan, David, and Jimmy when we do Dougie Sports Talk, Dougie and the boys. All right, Tampa versus Atlanta. I think this game could go either way, honestly. But for me, I'm going with Tampa Bay to take this one. Giants and Washington. Now, a lot of people like to say I'm delusional, but that's Jimmy Drust. What people do not understand is the Giants and Commanders last year, week 1 or week 2, played a tight game. It was very close to the end. Giants lost on a field goal. With Russell Wilson at the helm, I think the Giants win this one. Niners, Seahawks. I like the Niners to win this one, honestly. I'm going with San Fran. Detroit at Green Bay. Detroit's going to steamroll past Green Bay. Detroit wins this one. Minnesota versus Chicago. Jaden McCarthy picks up his first ever NFL win. Vikings win this one. AFC versus NFC. I like the Panthers to be a surprise team this year. I'm going with the Carolina Panthers to win against Jacksonville and to start 1-0. Houston versus the Rams. The Rams, I think they're going to be a sleeper team this year to go far. So I got the Rams winning this one. Chiefs Chargers, I believe it's in Brazil. I'm going with the Chiefs. Steelers at the Jets. I got the Jets winning at home. Dolphins at the Colts. I think the Colts are going to be one of the worst teams in the league for sure. Dolphins win that one. Coming off of an MVP type season, Joe Burrow and the Bengals start off 1-0. Shocker. Raiders, Patriots. I think the Patriots win this one. So the Patriots are going to win that game. Tennessee heads to Denver. Denver wins that one. And it's a shame one of these good teams have to start off 0-1. It's going to be the Baltimore Ravens because the Buffalo Bills are going to win that game. I think this could be a slugfest, like 38-35. All right, let's go to week 2. I'll be on vacation, so I'll see some of the game, not all of it. All right, let's go to week 2. We'll go from AFC to NFC side. Buffalo at the Jets. Buffalo will start 2-0 on the season. Patriots at the Dolphins. Patriots start 2-0 on the season. Jacksonville at Cincy. Cincy starts 2-0 on the season. Cleveland at the Ravens. Ravens bounce back and get the win. Broncos at the Colts. Broncos start 2-0. Chargers bounce back and get the win. AFC versus NFC, a rematch, I believe, Super Bowl 36. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Rams win this one against Tennessee. Seahawks at the Steelers. I think the Steelers bounce back and they win this game. A rematch of the Super Bowl, Eagles versus Chiefs. The Chiefs win this one and they're 2-0. Tampa Bay at the Texans. I think Tampa Bay will start 2-0 on the year, so Tampa gets the win there. Washington at Green Bay. Washington wins this one. They start 2-0. Green Bay starts 0-2. Giants, Cowboys. A lot of people are going to call me delusional, but the Giants and Cowboys, I believe, were competitive in a game. I think it was Thanksgiving when Drew Lock was playing. Giants win this one, and they start a surprising 2-0. Niners at the Saints. I got the Niners winning this one. Bears at Detroit. Detroit steamrolls again. Detroit wins this. Panthers at the Cardinals. Panthers win this, and they start 2-0. Does Kirk Cousins play in this game against his former team? Not sure, but JJ picks up the dub, and they start 2-0. Week 3. Rams and the Eagles, a rematch of the divisional game. I got the Eagles winning this one by a score of 31-17. Let's give a score for that. Falcons, Panthers. I think the Panthers could start 3-0, but the Falcons bounce back and they win this game. Saints and Seahawks. This game could go either way, but it's in Seattle. Seattle wins this. Cardinals at the Niners. I think this is a lock for San Fran. Dallas at Chicago. Chicago needs a win, but Dallas wins this one. Bengals, Vikings. This game could go either way, but look for the Vikings to start 3-0. Jets and the Buccaneers. Tampa starts 3-0. Vegas versus Washington. Washington wins this one. Green Bay at Cleveland. Green Bay bounce back and they get the win. Kansas City against the Giants. Sunday Night Football. Kansas City, of course, will be the favorite and they'll win this one. Monday Night Football potential Super Bowl matchup. Detroit versus Baltimore. Detroit could win this, but at home, Baltimore comes out on top. Miami Dolphins versus Buffalo Bills. Thursday Night Football. Buffalo starts 3-0. Colts versus Titans. Cam Ward versus Daniel Jones. I like Cam Ward to have the edge, but don't be surprised if the Colts sneak one out. But I'm going with Tennessee. Steelers, Patriots. Veteran versus sophomore. Aaron Rodgers gets the job done, and the Steelers win this one. Texans versus Jacksonville, AFC South matchup. Stroud versus Lawrence. C.J. Stroud bounces back in his third year. Houston gets the win. Broncos versus the Chargers. Two good teams, but the Chargers come out on top. All right, let's head over to week 4. Tennessee versus Houston. This game could go either way, but Houston gets another W. Baltimore versus Kansas City. Could it be a preview of the conference championship? I think Baltimore gets the job done in Kansas City. Jets versus Dolphins. This game could go either way, but we're going with the Jets. Cincinnati versus the Broncos in Denver. Denver wins. A lot of AFC versus NFC matchups. Minnesota versus the Steelers in Ireland. I believe that's Ireland. Minnesota gets the job done. Carolina versus New England. A game could go either way. Two young quarterbacks, but Drake May prevails, and the Patriots will win this game. Two experienced quarterbacks. Justin Herbert versus Russell Wilson in New York. This game could go either way. It truly can. But I see Ooh. I see my Giants pulling it out. I truly do. Giants start the year 3-1. Saints at Buffalo. Buffalo remains undefeated and they're 4-0. Detroit steamrolls. Not even a question versus Cleveland. Colts and the Rams. Easy one. Rams. Jacksonville versus the Niners. We're going to go with the Niners. And Chicago gets its first win on the season against the Raiders. NFC games for week 4. Seahawks, Cardinals. I like the Seahawks. Eagles, Tampa. I like Tampa. Washington, Atlanta. I like Atlanta. Green Bay, Dallas. I like Dallas. All right, on to week 5. What do we got for week 5, ladies and gentlemen? All right. This is what we're going with for week 5. Baltimore over Houston. Colts over Raiders. Buffalo over New England. Kansas City over Jacksonville. AFC versus NFC. London, Minnesota takes it over Cleveland. Dallas takes it over the Jets. Upset alert. The Broncos take it over the Eagles. The Panthers take it over the Dolphins. The Titans take it over the Cardinals. The Commanders take it over the Chargers. And the Bengals take it over Detroit. NFC side, the Niners fall to the Rams. The Giants steamroll the Saints. And the Seahawks defeat the Buccaneers. All right, we're on to week 6. Jets fall to the Broncos. Steelers beat the Browns. Chargers defeat the Dolphins. Titans defeat the Raiders. Seahawks defeat the Jaguars. Ravens defeat the Rams. Cardinals defeat the Colts. Patriots defeat the Saints. Packers beat the Bengals. Potential Super Bowl matchup. The Lions defeat the Chiefs. Buffalo defeats the Falcons. Eagles defeat the Giants. Niners defeat the Buccaneers. Cowboys defeat the Panthers. Chicago defeats Washington. Week 7. Bengals fall to the Steelers. Patriots fall to the Titans. Chiefs defeat the Raiders. Miami, they defeat the Browns. The Chargers defeat the Colts. The Rams fall to the Jaguars. The Panthers defeat the Jets. The Broncos defeat the Giants. The Seahawks defeat the Texans. NFC side, Eagles defeat the Vikings. Saints defeat the Bears. Packers defeat the Cardinals. Washington, they beat the Cowboys. The Falcons defeat the Niners. The Lions, they defeat Tampa. On to week 8. The Jets fall to the Bengals. The Browns fall to the Patriots. The Titans defeat the Colts. AFC versus NFC. Vikings defeat the Chargers. Niners defeat the Texans. Buffalo defeat the Bills. Dolphins defeat the Falcons. Ravens over the Bears. Broncos defeat the Cowboys. Steelers defeat the Packers. Upset alert. Washington over Kansas City on Monday Night Football. Eagles defeat the Giants. Saints fall to Tampa. On to week 9. The Ravens defeat the Dolphins. Texans defeat Denver. Chargers defeat the Titans. Steelers defeat the Colts. Jaguars defeat the Raiders. Buffalo defeats Kansas City. The Bengals defeat the Bears. The Falcons defeat the Patriots. NFC side of week 9. The Panthers fall to the Packers. The Vikings fall to the Lions. The Niners defeat the Giants. The Saints defeat the Rams. The Seahawks defeat Washington. The Cowboys beat the Cardinals on Monday Night Football. Week 10. The Giants defeat the Bears. The Saints fall to the Panthers. Seahawks over the Cardinals. Niners defeat the Rams. Lions get revenge over the Commanders. Packers defeat the Eagles. The Colts defeat the Falcons. Ravens over Minnesota. Tampa over New England. The Raiders upset the Broncos. Jaguars over Houston. Cleveland over the Jets. First loss of the year for the Buffalo Bills as they fall to the Miami Dolphins. The Chargers defeat the Steelers. All right, AFC side. Patriots defeat the Jets. Houston defeats Tennessee. The Bengals defeat the Steelers. Chargers defeat the Jaguars. The Chiefs defeat the Broncos. The Ravens defeat the Browns. AFC versus NFC. Commanders defeat Miami. Tampa defeats Buffalo. Cowboys get upset actually by the Raiders. Chicago defeats Minnesota. Carolina defeats the Falcons. The Packers defeat the Giants. The Rams defeat the Seahawks. Cardinals defeat the Niners. Eagles defeat the Lions. We're going to week 12. We're on week 12 now. Buffalo over Houston. Kansas City over the Colts. New England over the Bengals. The Jets upset the Ravens. The Browns upset the Raiders. The Bears defeat the Steelers. The Seahawks defeat the Titans. The Jaguars defeat the Cardinals. NFC side. Green Bay defeats Minnesota. Detroit defeats the Giants. Atlanta over the Saints. Cowboys over the Saints. Rams over Tampa. Niners over the Panthers. On to week 13. Cincy falls to the Ravens. Tennessee defeats the Jaguars. The Colts defeat the Texans. The Los Angeles Chargers defeat the Raiders. The Bills beat the Steelers. The Chiefs defeat the Cowboys. The Saints defeat the Dolphins. The Falcons defeat the Jets. The Niners defeat the Browns. The Broncos defeat Washington. New England and the Giants. New England, I think. The Packers fall to Detroit. Philly defeats Chicago. Tampa defeats Arizona. The Rams defeat the Panthers. Minnesota falls to Seattle. The Dolphins defeat the Jets. The Ravens defeat the Steelers. The Colts defeat the Jaguars. Titans over Cleveland. Denver over Vegas. Buffalo over Cincy. Houston over the Chiefs. Monday Night Football, I like the Chargers in LA to beat the Eagles. Detroit defeats the Cowboys. Green Bay defeats Chicago. Minnesota over Washington. Atlanta over Seattle. Tampa over the Saints. Cardinals versus LA. On to week 15. The Chargers fall to the Chiefs. The Ravens defeat the Bengals. Buffalo over New England. The Jets over Jacksonville. The Steelers over the Dolphins. Arizona over Houston. Cleveland over Chicago. Philly over Vegas. Niners over Tennessee. Colts fall to the Seahawks. Denver over Green Bay. Tampa over Atlanta. Washington over the Giants. Detroit over the Rams. Carolina over New Orleans. Minnesota over Dallas. Kansas City over Tennessee. Baltimore over New England. Buffalo over Cleveland. Denver over Jacksonville. Houston over the Raiders. Cincy over Miami. Chargers over Dallas. Jets over NOLA. Detroit over Pittsburgh. Niners over Colts. The Rams over Seattle on Thursday night. Packers over Chicago. Philly over Washington. Giants over Minnesota. Tampa over Carolina. Atlanta over Arizona. Week 17. Dallas over Washington. Detroit over Minnesota. Carolina over Seattle. Niners over the Bears. Atlanta over the Rams. Giants over Vegas. Baltimore over Green Bay. Arizona over Cincy. Saints over the Titans. Tampa over Miami. Buffalo over Philly. Denver over Kansas City. Houston over the Chargers. Jaguars over the Colts. New England over the Jets. Pittsburgh over Cleveland. Week 18. And these are your division leaders going into Week 18. Buffalo, Baltimore, Denver, Houston, Philly, Tampa, San Fran, Detroit. All right, it's time for AFC side. Kansas City over the Raiders. Denver over the Chargers. The Colts fall to Houston. Cincy defeats Cleveland. Buffalo defeats the Jets. New England defeats Miami. The Steelers. This game could go either way, but Baltimore's going to have everyone rested, so Pittsburgh wins that. Tennessee over Jacksonville. NFC side, Cardinals over the Rams. Seattle over San Fran. Green Bay over Minnesota. Detroit over Chicago. The Saints over Atlanta. Cowboys over the Giants. Washington over Philly. Tampa over Carolina. All right, so these are your playoff teams. You got the Buffalo Bills at 15-2. The Rams at 14-3. The Ravens at 14-3. The Broncos at 13-4. The Texans at 8-9 win the NFC South. The Chiefs at 11-6. The Chargers at 10-7. The Steelers at 10-7. Your worst teams in the league are the Raiders at 2-15, Browns at 3-14, Colts at 4-13, Bears at 4-13. So does that mean the Raiders end up with Archie Manning Jr.? Saints 5-12. Now these are your NFC side playoff teams. Lions 14-3. The Niners 13-4. Buccaneers at 13-4. Eagles 9-8. Seattle 11-6. Green Bay 10-7. Atlanta 9-8. All right, now it's time. Now it's time for the playoff picture. All right, wild card round. I like the Kansas City Chiefs to defeat the Houston Texans just because of the experience. But then again, the Texans always find a way to make these upsets in the playoffs. But I like the Chiefs to win this. Chargers versus Broncos. I'd say the Chargers could win this game, but they always collapse when it comes to the playoffs. And Denver is a scary place to play come playoff time. New England versus Baltimore. I like the Ravens to win this. NFC side, you got the Seahawks over the Eagles. I like Philly to go back and win this playoff game. Green Bay versus Tampa. The storybook run ends because I see the Packers upsetting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this wild card round. You got the Packers defeating the Buccaneers. Atlanta Falcons over the Atlanta Falcons and the San Francisco 49ers. This is another game that could go either way. And I like the San Francisco Niners to collapse. I think they'll have an easy run in the regular season. And I really like the Atlanta Falcons to pull out this upset. Now it's time for the divisional round. The Broncos over the Ravens. Some are you going to say, are you insane? No, I'm not. I just think the Denver Broncos could be that good. And I see the Broncos coming out on top. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. I think everyone's going to say, oh, here we go again. But this is the time. This is the time, and the Buffalo Bills get the job done. Packers versus the Eagles. Either team will have the advantage in this cold weather matchup. And I think this game could go either way. Packers have to get the job done sooner or later. But just because they're the defending champs, I like the Eagles and Saquon Barkley to defeat them. Falcons and the Detroit Lions. The Lions, they win this divisional round matchup. They truly do. Conference championship round. The Denver Broncos versus the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills head to the Super Bowl for the first time since the 90s. And who will they play? They will play the Detroit Lions. A team that combined 29 victories or something. Yeah, 29 victories. All right, your Super Bowl matchup for the 2025-2026 season is the Detroit Lions versus the Buffalo Bills. And this is the year for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills come out on top and win the Super Bowl. And your draft order is the Raiders, the Browns, the Colts, the Bears, the Jaguars, the Dolphins, the Saints. And that's your playoff bracket. That is Dougie's playoff bracket for the year. Mark it down. That's what you're going to see.